And I also really am honored to be part of Dr. Cox's lecture series. Dr. Cox has a huge influence on me. When I first came to Washington, as an undergrad, he was a member of the department, and at some point, I remember going into his office and he telling me that this is what you need to know if you're going to ever do a Ph.D. This is what you need to do to get tenure. This is what good research is. And at the time, I had no idea I was ever going to get a Ph.D. But it turned out to be really useful advice that I treasured over the years. So and the environment is great. So let me tell you a little bit about what I'm going to talk about is an open platform for robotics research. And maybe I'll start with just a story, just talking about how technology evolves and how people's perception of technology changes. My son came home with a prize from a magazine selling fundraising contest they did in junior high. And the prize was this telephone shaped like a cheesecake. And the cheeseburger opens up, and it's a clamshell, and it's got a wire off the slot, which means it's essentially useless. It's a wired phone with a short wire, and we have wireless phones everywhere. So we put it in the closet until one day I needed a wired phone to test out the phone line. So I plugged it in, opened it up, and at that point he seems to forget that he's the one who gave this to me. He says, "That's a phone? It doesn't even have a screen." What do we expect about technology? And so, I think about the robots that we're building, and the robot that I'll talk about today, the software that goes with it. There's so many things that we don't assume about the technology because we take it to be a certain way. When you see a robot, you don't realize that necessarily. A full-scale personal robot, talking about a human-sized robot that can go into the environment. When you build it, you naturally put computers in it. We put multiple computers in it, so now it's a distributed system. It's got an a gigabit Ethernet network running through it. It's got a whole bunch of cameras. It's got wireless Ethernet off, and it is its own wireless base station if you want it to be, or it's connected to your wireless infrastructure if you need it to be. It's so plastic in what it can do because you put so many capabilities into it that it's sometimes hard to get your mind around what's the best way to get something done because there's so many choices. You can just think, well, that's a computer, or what I always say, that's telepathic. What do you mean it's telepathic? Well, it's got 802.11, and you can talk to any other robot without you being able to tell it's talking. So it's essentially what we think of as telepathy, except that it's natural. Right? If I tell you it's 802.11, go back to work. If I tell you it's telepathically, that sounds really cool. So what I'll do is I'm going to give you a little bit of background about Willow Garage and philosophy and plans, because it is a unique company, and actually one of my passions is in building organizations and trying to understand what does make a good research organization. I've been part of the Washington Computer Science Department. After I left here, I went to Washington Med School for a little while in medical informatics. Then I figured out that even though I had this wonderful deal where I was teaching in the computer science department here and doing research at the medical school, that with a master's degree, there's not really a career path in academia. So I went for a Ph.D. at Stanford, experienced that department, and then I went to Xerox PARC and IBM research. And while I was at Stanford, I also worked in interval research, which is an interesting little startup. So I've been a part of a lot of different research organizations. And now I've had the opportunity in Willow Garage to build one from scratch. And that's really, it's a unique opportunity. It's a wonderful opportunity. And so I want to tell you a little bit about what that organization is, what we're trying to do, so that you have an idea where I'm coming from. And I'll tell you about the PR2 hardware, which is this really cool robot that we're building. And then more importantly, the raw software, which is what I think of as the Linux of robotics, what I want to become the Linux of robotics. And then I'll talk a little bit about a research approach and community building. So who are we? So Willow Garage is a research and development lab focused on autonomous devices. And a year ago, we were doing a few different autonomous devices. And literally 1 year ago, we started focusing on just this personal robot because we just didn't have the resources to do an autonomous boat, an autonomous car, and a personal robot at the same time. And we weren't likely to be. We're designed to be about 60 people, so we have stable funding for 60, which is it's a really nice situation to be in, and that's basically indefinitely. And it's private funding. We're focused on non-military applications, and we're dedicated to making things that will have impact. So if you ask me, what are we trying to do? We're trying to have positive impact on the world with the resources that the funders have made available. We're currently 36 people, and we continue to grow. So again, our goal is impact, and creating this Linux of robotics, we think is a really important way. Software turns out to be an amazing leverage point, right? When you build hardware, you can give it away, but it costs you something every time you give it away because it's a real thing, right? Software, you can put out on the internet and everybody can download it. So you have this ability to do something once and then have it replicated an arbitrary number of times at essentially no cost. That's a huge potential for impact. So how do we get to impact? I should have added one more point here, which is you have to have some kind of vision, right? If you don't have some kind of focus, you can't have impact. We've got now this focus around this personal robot. We hire great people to do that. We're going to distribute a great robotics platform. We'll be making it available for no cost to universities, at least 10 of them. And then we're going to build a great community around it. That means getting other people to contribute back to this robot operating system. This is the thesis. My thesis is at the top. Autonomous personal robots will change the world. Right? They don't, by the way, have to be covered in white plastic. That's an artifact of Japanese robots. They don't have to look particularly like people. They do end up having to be human scale if you want them to work in human environments and do tasks that people have historically done. They don't have to be exactly like people. Why is this possible? Why are we at a point where robots might change the world? And there's a whole bunch of reasons. I'll list 6 here. Somebody came up to me at a talk I gave a year or so ago and said, well, 25 years ago, I'm in robotics. I've been in robotics for my whole career. And 25 years ago, we were saying that robots are going to change the world. So why now? What's changed? And I think these are some examples.